When we talk about mindfulness, we very often speak about being present. In fact, the whole thing is about the awareness that arises when we pay attention in the present moment. So presence is a very important part of mindfulness. However, what we do not talk very much about is the idea of being absent. And I think absence has a role to play in mindfulness too. So let's take a few moments before we practice together to reflect on this idea of absence and presence. I suppose I'm thinking about it because this past week I celebrated here in America the Thanksgiving holiday, and it was a very different one from past years. And with all the restrictions needed because of the pandemic, I had this real sense of separation from family and friends. You know, some of us still got together for a meal outdoors, and it was wonderful, especially to have my two sons home from college with me outside. But I was also very aware of those who were absent from our home. And I began to consider what it means to be present to one another and also to be absent from one another. And I think that absence is not opposed to presence, that they actually go together. The two words, it's obvious, share the same root. The Latin root of sense is part of both those words, and which just means to be. When you add the prefix, the pre, in presence, you get before. So when we are present, we're standing before or in front of being. We could say, I guess, that when we are present, we're being there, or we're even in the being mode. And the ab prefix in absent means to be away or to be elsewhere. And so we have this dynamic, this going back and forth between absence and presence. And it seems that we have a choice to be here or to be away from here. So in order for me to be fully present here, I must be absent from somewhere else. This is a great challenge for me, as I like to be everywhere. And I've often wished that I could kind of bilocate. But if I choose to be here, I am also choosing to be absent from somewhere else. In his book, Walking in Wonder, the Irish poet John O'Donoghue speaks of the relationship between absence and presence. He says, absence is the sister of presence. The opposite of presence is not absence, but vacancy. Vacancy is neutral, indifferent, inane, a blank kind of space. Whereas absence has real energy, it has vitality in it, and it is infused with longing. So to be absent means to be away from someone or something, and that act of departure can bring with it a sense of loss. And that loss has energy for that which is lost, whether that be a person, a time in our life, a place. Quoting O'Donoghue again, he says, all absence holds the echo of some fractured intimacy. But the intimacy came first. And then, when it was broken, the absence filled the heart. And we are so vulnerable to absence, he says, because we desire presence so deeply. So there is a place for absence in our lives, a place to recall where we have been, a place to remember those who have touched our hearts and are no longer present in our lives. And in that sense, absence is a kind of hidden presence. But if we spend a great deal of time living in the world of absence, we can begin to diminish our own presence in this world and in this life, in our own lives. And we ourselves can become fractured and divided. O'Donohue calls this being alienated from who we are and from what we are called to do here. In order not to be alienated from our lives, we need to practice presence. Presence, the deepest longing of the human heart. And becoming aware of absence can help bring us into a new presence and intentional engagement in our lives as they really are. Once more from O'Donohue, when we experience real presence, we break through that which is latently in us, that which is eternal, but which the normal daily round of life keeps distant from us. Now, when we consider mindfulness practice, we start to see that absence and presence are actually both working together. During meditation, we may experience a kind of absence when we observe what's happening in the moment without getting caught up or overly invested in what's happening. And when we become present to that which is happening in the moment, we may also become more willing to be absent from the many other places that we could be, physically or mentally. So by allowing for absence, we are letting go of what is happening in the mind and not getting lost in some thought stream. It is a kind of absence of a subject, thereby allowing space for a new presence to emerge.